Kia ora, talofa, namaste, haere mai, and welcome to today's episode of The Niche Case, a variety show where we explore Aotearoa sport with a bunch of different ideas and bits and pieces. As we always say, it's a bit of a buffet, a bit of a smorgasbord of all Aotearoa sporting matters delivered in glorious niche case fashion. We are from The Niche Case. theniche-case.com, where you'll find plenty of Aotearoa sporting yarns. This morning, I recapped the Blackcaps, Netherlands, and Ross Taylor situation, everything that was happening there. Flying Kiwis is always live when the variety show ends up being live as well. I've touched on Plunket Shield. The Wildcard is tracking. He's got broken down the football Ferns squad. He's broken down the All Whites Oceanic qualifying. There are big yarns about like Sophie Devine, NRL Wahine, Kiwi NRL. Stephen Adams always pops off. So if you're just stumbling into this for the first time and acquainting yourself with the niche case and our mission to broadcast Aotearoa sporting excellence in our, funky fashion, make sure you check out the website, theniche-case.com, because there's plenty to read about. And we break down Aotearoa sporting matters in depth. And that's just if you like to read. If you like to read, if you like to open yourself up to new ideas, reading about Aotearoa sports, head on over to theniche-case.com. Otherwise, if you're not really into reading, just tune in. We got podcasts, we got videos, always come in every single week. And much of that comes via the support of our Patreon whānau, patreon.com/EL Niche Case. Our Niche Case, every Monday morning, we always drop a Monday morning sporting podcast, touching on some whatever floated our boat from the sporting weekend. And there's a couple of clips on the YouTube page from the Patreon podcast as well. So there's always an extra podcast on Patreon every week for the folks who support us straight up the guts. And if you want to support us straight up the guts, head on over to patreon.com/our niche case, EL niche case. Every Monday and Friday evening, we also serve up an email banger. As you might have guessed, extra yarns to be had in the email banger as well. thenichecase.substack.com. All the niche case content delivered to your email inbox, as well as current eventy ideas, bits of news, stats, updates, and everything you need for Aotearoa sport. So pretty much however you want it, it's there. If you love Aotearoa sport and you like the niche case, you like the way we share and express our love for Aotearoa sport, it's there for podcasts, it's there with video, and it's there with big old yarns, as well as email banger via Substack, thenichecase.substack.com. Every Monday and Friday evening, we start our podcasts with a dose of mindfulness via the Wobbly Wildcard from his cave deep in the depths of the native bush of Northland, where you might stumble across a Kiwi on your nightly walkabouts, maybe.
It's possible. There's a forest like a 5-minute drive from where I live that supposedly has Kiwi in it. Never seen one though. I've walked through there several times. I've never quite stumbled upon one yet, but maybe one day that'll happen. Slight twist in the mindfulness this week, because normally what we do is I'll just chuck up like a like head in the clouds kind of quote, and then you're very good at like bringing it back into some kind of grounded reality, practical use. This one is just pure practicality though, so I'm going to save you the hassle here. This is just less of a quote and more just like a tip that I can't remember where I came from. I think it was one of those things that popped up as like a in place of a quote on the meditation app that I use. It just said, like, nice and simply, release the tension in your face muscles. Ooh. And every now and then I get that particular message and I'm just like, yeah, that's a good one just to keep in mind. Like just a day to day, every now and then you're feeling stressed. Like one of the simplest things you can do, like there's a deep breath is another one that you can do, but also just like release the tension in your face muscles. And I've never once thought of that idea without doing it, and then done it without being like, yeah, that helps. That's good. That's a good tip. That helps.
It definitely helps. That's fantastic insight. It's when you think about the connection between tension in your body and how you feel, and I just imagine how like twisted up and niggly and just tricky all the tension in your face can be. It's a very pinpoint precise piece of practical advice, but I'll take it a step further. If you just lay down and try to relax, that's like amplifying the whole notion. So maybe start with trying to focus on relaxing your face, and then take it a step further and just take 10 minutes to lie down and relax. Because then that sensation, that feeling when you're feeling and relaxing your face, obviously if you're just relaxing your whole body, it puts you in a better state of rest and recuperation as well. But maybe you're doing a bit of mahi. Maybe you're just out in the field, out in the trenches, getting your mahi done. Don't necessarily have the luxury to lie down for a couple of minutes. What do you need to do? Just remind yourself to relax your face and you're all good. No dramas, no wakan wharis. No wakan wharis at all with Aotearoa sport here, Wildcard either, because it's a fantastic time to be alive. Grateful to be from Aotearoa. Grateful to have so much fantastic Aotearoa sport at our disposal and beyond sport as well. Just shout out to Aotearoa. But we need to discuss some Aotearoa sporting matters here, Wildcard. What do you got in the leading segment? Things get a bit dramatic. Things get a bit funky here. Coming out with some ideas of the sizzling hot take variety. What do you got?
Sizzling hot take about just the prominence, we'll say, of the Wellington Phoenix academy players this season. So like pretty much everyone looking at that team coming into the season could tell that the academy was going to be more important than ever, just given the circumstances of everything around this Wellington Phoenix season and some of the players that were coming through and had been promoted and all that. Little did we all realize quite the extent of it, though. So Lewis Toomey and Riley Bidouin have both been sent over to join the squad this week to add a bit of much-needed depth with all the injuries and a rehash of some of them COVID things and everything. So Toomey is an attacking midfielder, can play on the right wing, very technical, good passer, progressive style player, set-piece specialist as well, which is always handy. Bidouin is a forward, could play on the left wing as well. He's fast, good finisher, gets him behind, scores plenty of goals. In fact, he's actually scored in his last 12 consecutive Central League appearances. So that's actually quite astounding when I saw that and realized the just like what a prominent goal scorer he is at that level. Exactly what defines a Wellington Phoenix Academy player can get a little bit frisky because they don't tend to count Alex Roofer and Ollie Sale, for example, who both did play a lot of Phoenix footy, but were signed from other senior clubs, and I think probably signed on professional terms rather than academy terms off the bat. So I think that's the reason for that distinction. But Kellen Elliott still seems to get counted, even though he'd played for Tasman United first. I think because he signed as an academy player, not as a first team player. I assume that's the difference. And Louis Fenton kind of goes either way because he was fully developed by the club and all that, but developed long enough ago that he actually preceded the actual academy himself. He was like a scholarship player or something, which is a slightly different thing, but I'm going to count him anyway because it's not his fault that he came through a year or two before that opportunity and would have been in the academy otherwise. So if you do count him, in that case, if Toomey and Bidouin are to make matchday squads before the season is over, then that will have made it 15 academy guys who will have done so. Fenton, Ben Old, Ben Wayne, McGarry, Sutton, Kellen Elliott, Henry Gray, Mogg, Ott, Sermon, Manuel, Paulson, Van Hatten, Toomey, Bidouin. Compare that to 15 non-academy players who have made matchday squads this season. And so if those two actually do get on the get on the bench for some games, they will have taken the team past the tipping point of having had more academy players than not academy players as part of their squad this season. And these dudes aren't just there making up the numbers either. Like Ben Wayne is the club's top scorer across all competitions. Sam Sutton has been superb this year. Alex Paulson's filled in a couple of times as the backup keeper. Finn Sermon, Ben Old, both started each of the last 3 games. And this is like, Alex Roof is out for the rest of the season. Gary Hoover's something close to that. Lewis is going to miss at least another month. Soterio's at least a couple of weeks away. Piscopo's only just coming back now. There's heaps to play for, and these injuries aren't just going to go away all of a sudden. It's going to be like it's going to be, well, we're going to see a lot of these academy guys getting a lot more minutes as we come through this like crucial stage of the Wellington Phoenix's campaign. And as to how successful that campaign ends up being, I think, guys like Ben Wayne, Sam Sutton, and all these all the way down to Tumi and Benoit could all have a pretty substantial amount to say as to the success of this season.
So what is your precise take with regards to the Wellington Phoenix Academy?
My precise take is just that. The thing I started off with, which is saying it's more prominent than ever. And then the thing I ended up with, which is saying that these guys are actually like crucial in how this team is going to go this season.
So the Wellington Phoenix Academy is...
Sizzling? I don't know.
It's all right.
Chucking a word. There's
you
many
need to
that
work on your adjectives. We know this.
Fair enough.
Sizzling's all right. It's a lukewarm. Duke Nukem? I don't know. But so the Wellington Phoenix Academy is sizzling, and it's prominent, and it's going to help them win the A-League this season.
Pretty much. It's going to be Ben Wayne's going to score a hat-trick in the grand final, and there you go.
Beautiful. My take is a salute, hat tip, a nod to the summer of cricket. A lot of Aotearoa sport, it's been up and down. We've had a Women's World Cup where fans were dribbling in for different games. And it was, even despite the limited crowds, you still saw kids having a great time on the boundaries, on the banks. You saw a wide variety of Kiwis getting out and watching the Women's World Cup. We just had some Blackcaps cricket with big crowds as well, which is fantastic. And I'm just chuffed. I'm chuffed that the summer of cricket finished with celebration. We had the celebration of the Women's World Cup final, big crowd, fantastic cricket, epic moment. And then we had the celebration of Lydia Ko as well, with it was a bit of a celebration of Blackcaps cricket as well, because the Blackcaps don't play much ODI cricket. A lot of their test cricket's being played in the South Island. So it's good, just a celebratory vibe in Hamilton for the Blackcaps. So I just want to big it up to the summer of cricket. Niggly, tricky, weaving through different crowd numbers, schedules all over the place, a bit of dramas, not so good cricket, but ultimately we end in celebration. And I think that is fantastic. I'm just chuffed, just purely chuffed there, Wildcard. Let's get statistical, and you've got a lot of stats apparently, so deliver them.
Yeah, rather than going in deep on one stat with a bunch of different like spiders' legs and creeping off of it, just going to go quick fire, bang, 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 bang with 10 interesting stats that I've come up with over the last few days of whatever I'm writing. First one, Will Young has scored hundreds in 2 of his first 5 ODI innings. The only other New Zealander to do that before was, drumroll, Rob Nicol. I wouldn't have guessed that. There's actually only 8 New Zealanders to have scored 100 within their first 5 innings. The others are Peter Fulton, Hamish Marshall, Bevan Congdon, Martin Guptill, Lieutenant Ross Taylor, Ken Wadsworth, and Kane Williamson. A few of those guys turned out all right. Number 2, Rhea Percival's in this football Ferns squad to play Australia this week. As always, Percival has 160 caps for Aotearoa and could legitimately get to 200 by the end of her career. How? By always being available. That's why Percival currently has a streak of having started the last 28 consecutive Ferns games. Major tournaments, friendlies, qualifiers, the lot. She just starts them all. November 2018 was the last time she missed a start. It was a qualifier against the Cook Islands, and even then she was the first sub used off the bench. So, number 3, Steve-O's stats. Stephen Adams has an offensive rebound percentage of 18.1 with 4 games left. Still in pace for top 10 all time, and is still a chance of getting up to the 18.3. That'd tie him for the best mark this millennium. Next best this season, Clint Capella, 14.9%. Not even close. Bill Tuiloma has scored 5 goals in his last 6 games for club and country, all of them coming as centre back. Guy's a champion. This one I've stolen from Francis Payne on Twitter, but Michael and Doug Bracewell's partnership in the 30 ODI against Netherlands. First time that 2 Bracewells have batted together for the Blackcaps since John and Brendan back in 1980, 42 years ago. That partnership lasted 8 minutes, and given that Michael Bracewell promptly got out after Doug came in, 8 minutes is still the record between 2 Bracewells. The Wellington Phoenix lost 6-0 to Melbourne City on Saturday. equal worst ever losing margin for the club. Still would rate the 7-1 loss to Sydney FC in 2013 as a worst defeat overall, though. The New Zealand Breakers are 32-55 under Dan Shamir's coaching. They've missed the playoffs in all 4 seasons since Matt Walsh became owner CEO. Nice little update there. Francis de Vries has been with Swedish footy club IFK Värnamos for two straight promotions. Came off the bench in their club's first ever top flight game this weekend. That makes him the 4th New Zealander to play in the Allsvenskan after Craig Anderson, Dan Keat, Matty Garbett. On the flip side, Nick Zanev's AFC Wimbledon team has gone 22 games in a row without a win. They last got 3-pointer against Accrington Stanley on December 7th, and yet their manager only got sacked last week, so they've got a bit of work to do to save from dropping into League 2. And 10th and final, Lieutenant Ross Taylor's Test career ended with a wicket. His ODI career ended with a catch. The catch might have been the wicket was more fun, but the catch might have been a little bit more telling in terms of his actual career, because that was his 351st catch in all international formats. Only Mahela Jayawardene with 440 and Ricky Ponting 364 have more. And Taylor played roughly 100 fewer games than Ponting and about 200 fewer less than Jayawardene. So there you go. He actually has a better catches per innings ratio of anyone in the top 5. So if he'd played more, he'd have been number 1. And that's my stat attack bomb there. Bang, bang, bang.
Bang, 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 and I'm coming out with a fucking water pistol, firing out some Plunket Shield water statistical glory. I just want to highlight one dude, actually, Simon Keene, Auckland seamer, who is having a jolly old time in the Plunket Shield, snaring wickets for fun. 3 games, 23 wickets, average of 8.82, RP of 2.27 as well. He's the only bowler who has taken over 20 wickets who has bowled less than 100 overs. And I'll do you one better. I'll say he's the only bowler in the Plunket Shield who has taken over 20 wickets and bowled less than 150 overs. So maybe tap in. Just a bit of tapping in here with Simon Keene, Auckland seamer. These are his first 3 games of first-class cricket as well. So he is 23 wickets and an average of 8.82 in his first 89 overs of first-class cricket. I don't know about anyone else, but that smells like good bowling to me. Don't need any eye test notes here. It's just stats, and those are fantastic stats for Simon Keene, Auckland seamer. I feel like you've already been deep in the Mangroves Wildcard. I feel like you've already made a few round trips, had to come back for supplies. Now you're venturing back out, and you're on a. We do love a bit of a walkabouts here at the Nichecation. It just seems interesting time of year, daylight saving. And things are a bit wonky in the natural world where seasons are changing. So I don't know if this is impacting your walkabouts journeys in the mangroves, but I feel like you might be I see cave before. I don't know if caves exist deep in the mangroves, but you've found some sort of shack out in the mangroves of Aotearoa sport, and you're serving up some fantastic deep in the mangroves notes. But for the deep in the mangroves section, what do you have?
I guess you could have a cave above the mangrove somewhere, like just a little up the hill, and then the mangroves are where you go to. I don't know.
It's an old boat. It's just a boat that's been stuck on the mangroves. It was beached 15 years ago. Obviously, no one else really goes deep into the mangroves, so they haven't found it. But you've just set up a little shack there. You're doing some things in the boat in the mangroves.
Yeah, things including having a look at some of the Blackcaps' appearance stats for the summer, because it was kind of a shallow season as far as the Blackcaps go, because you had the White Ferns took a lot of the spotlight, and deservedly so, at the end of the summer with the hosting a home World Cup and all that. The T20 World Cup also very much impinged on the start of the summer, as did the Tour to India. Really eating into the home window that they had, but they still got in 2 test series, one against Bangladesh, one against South Africa, split them both 1-1. There was a rained off 2020 against Netherlands, 3-0 ODI series win against the Dutch. COVID also spoiled some limited overs tours, both one from and one to Australia. So they ended up only playing 7 games. Used 19 players across 7 games, though. 4 players played in all 7 of those games. Tom Latham, Will Young, Henry Nichols, and Kyle Jamieson. Other players to have featured: Young, Conway, Taylor, Nichols, Blundell, Ravindra, Southey, Wagner, Bolt, Daryl Mitchell, CDG, Henry, Guptill, a couple of Bracewells, Sodhi and Tickner. There's your 19 right there. Now, if we expand that into the India tour that went before that, Test Tour, chuck in Ajaz Patel, Will Somerville, and also some fella called Kane Williamson. Forgot about him. Expand that to the 2020s that played against India. You bring in Mitchell Santner, Mark Chapman, Tim Seifert, Glenn Phillips, Jimmy Neesham, Adam Milne, Lockie Ferguson, Todd Astor, all got games there. That adds up to 30 players who have been capped for the Blackcaps in some various format since the 2020 World Cup ended in mid-November. And that doesn't include recent call-ups who didn't play, like Cam Fletcher, Dane Cleaver, still uncapped, but been part of squads. Ben Sayers, Scott Kugelheim were in the 2020 squad that would have played against Netherlands had they not been rained off. They might have got games there. Or Finn Allen, who hasn't played an international since September when they went to Bangladesh in that sort of B-team tour before the 2020 World Cup. So that is 35 dudes right there that I've named who have played some part of Blackcaps cricket or could have played some part of Blackcaps cricket, and if things had just been a little bit kinder, just in the last 6 months, 35 guys. And I can pretty much guarantee I've probably missed someone as well. You're probably sitting there with someone on the top of your head, or someone listening is being like, what about so-and-so? Yeah, that's probably true. There's probably someone else that I've missed that for whatever reason has been injured or something like that as well. That's some pretty extensive depth that the Blackcaps have all of a sudden.
I was too busy admiring the official number, because I've kind of thrown up, the 30 figure. I think when I started really thinking about Blackcaps depth, 20 was pretty exciting, and then you get to 25, then you get 30, and it's all a bit wishy-washy. I'm just kind of like, okay, there's 11 blokes there, and then I can think of 10 more, so that's over 20, and then there's a couple more. Now we're in 30, but you've done some official mahi there, and you've rattled through 35 blokes who are representing or in the vicinity of representing Aotearoa in cricket, and that is really impressive. And as we always note, similar vibes across a lot of other Aotearoa sports as well. And one of the other sports is rugby league. And I want to go super big picture here, Wildcard, for my Deep in the Mangroves this week. I want to throw up, what are we doing? We're early April. It's a bit of daylight saving, bit of seasonal change as well. Not necessarily peak rugby league season right now. But right now, we have under 16 and under 18 competitions in Auckland. These are the Sean Johnson and Dean Bell Cups, first ever time they have been held. And I think they had the final last weekend. That's happening right now. Well, it's in the vicinity of right now. The New Zealand Rugby League under 20s competition is happening. The New Zealand Rugby League Women's Premiership is also happening. The NRL is happening, and the NRL Women's is happening. Let alone all the Kiwis competing in levels below NRL in Australia. But we'll just, for the purpose of this exercise, we'll let that go. So I've got, that's 6 different competitions for rugby league happening in March and April. To me, that is those are pretty solid foundations for rugby league in Aotearoa. And to me, that expresses greater efficiency and talent pipelines from Aotearoa to the highest level, NRL and NRLW. There's a bit of alignment there, and there are pathways. There are better pathways right now for players to be playing footy and be playing sport and have a chance to express themselves as well as being scouted and recruited. So, or just like if you don't necessarily have ambitions of playing NRL, you're just a youngster playing under 20s rugby league against Akarana counties, or you might be playing against Waikato or the South Island. You're traveling from Auckland to go play rugby league against the South Island team. It's just a good, really good picture encompassing the rugby league landscape there. And if you want to get into the competitive spirit, not a lot of the other winter sports are churning out that much footy at this time of year. Like when you think about rugby union, a lot of it's still preseason. First 15 is still in preseason mode. It's kind of just super rugby happening right now. When I look at rugby league, there are a wide variety of different competitions, which isn't better because some of these rugby league kids have to play them first 15. But it's about making the most of these little windows and getting the best out of the talent and providing those opportunities. And I think a lot of people focus on the NRL, whether they're Kiwis or Australians. They do overlook the roots in Aotearoa. And this, the variety of competitions in rugby league at this time of year, I think those roots run pretty deep for Aotearoa Rugby League. So big it up to all involved, especially a lot of those kids playing in these tournaments, staying fit and healthy and just enjoying their footy, all the volunteers, all the officials that are making this stuff happen as well, really enjoying. Like you can watch these games on YouTube or Sky. And of course, big NRLW final this weekend coming up, which we'll yarn through on the niche cast this Thursday. So shout out to Aotearoa Rugby League. Question time wildcard, and another thing lurking on our radar is football Ferns versus Australia, otherwise known as the Matildas. Pretty exciting. Football Ferns creeping their way closer to Aotearoa, which is always good as well. They play against Australia later this week. So again, we'll do a bigger preview on the Thursday episode of the Niche Cast. I'm curious, as the football Ferns expert, what are you pondering early in the week? It's nicely framed, football Ferns later in the week. You'll get into some deeper analysis later in the week as well. On this Tuesday, earlier in the week, what are some, whether it's a bigger picture idea or just a real specific nugget that you've been pondering, what is something that you are thinking about with regards to the football Ferns to help frame these upcoming fixtures?
Yeah, very much bigger picture ideas, because I think the Tildas are pretty hard to beat in general. I think a team in the footy Ferns' place is going to struggle against them regardless. Like they lost, I think, 2-1 to them at the Olympics, but that included like a stoppage time consolation goal, so it wasn't even as close as that sounds. They will be even harder in a couple of games in Australia. It is a nice time to integrate a little bit more, like a little further integration for some of the A-League based players, because that season is over now. There's no more juggling club and country. It's like, fresh vibes there. It helps nicely. But I think overall, it's probably best not to think too much about results and worry about more like wider processes. And Yeka Komplova's, I think this will be her 4th tour in charge of the team, but her 2nd really with something close to a full strength side. So for me, it's all about just seeing like the progress in their style of play. We want to see them being, just building combinations within her formation, her sort of 4-3-3 that she likes to play. Working out new ways of finding creativity. Paige Satchel maybe down the right wing might be someone who can offer something like that. Bit of Olivia Chance, sneaky passing ability. Hannah Wilkinson's prowess up front coming off that A-League season, things like that. Also, their pressing, probably get a bit of Rhea Percival leading that from the midfield, shooting out and winning turnovers, things like this, things that we've seen from them in all of their tours so far at Conclova. So it's nothing new. I'm not expecting to see any like twists in the tail on this tour. I just want to see them basically getting repetitions and getting better at those things and playing against a good team and hopefully putting them under pressure and just pretty much continuing to grow under the new coach. Basically, I'd summarize it that way. Just let's see continued growth under the new coach, within the new ideas, philosophies, style, tactics, all them things. It's going to be mostly the same players from the She Believes Cup, and so it's just a matter of scoring some goals, doing a little bit better. Speaking of going through processes, I'm thinking about various sports that we cover, and sprung to mind that I haven't really heard a whole lot out of Lydia Ko recently, and I'm wondering what Lydia Ko has been up to. And as someone whose opinion on the matters of Lydia Ko's golfing prowess I trust as much as anyone, I thought I'd ask you.
Slight stumble, but nothing crazy. In fact, her slight stumble to start this year tells the story of where she's at, because her worst result was this weekend, tied for 25th, but that's her worst result. She's not missing cuts. She's not tied for 30th or anything like that. She's just battling away, and I'm curious to see where this goes. Really strong start to the summer. She had she had tied for 10th and then first. So that's 2 top 10 finishes. Then she went tied for 23, tied for 12th, and tied for 25th. So 2 top 10 finishes, and now 3 top 25 finishes. So there is a dip from her really good start, but coming where we've come from with Lydia Ko, this dip is pretty fantastic, relatively speaking. I don't think Lydia Ko is anywhere near her best golf right now, but she is still in contention for much of these tournaments. Second day, third day, she might be 15th, 10th, or 5th, whatever it is. So she's still in the mix, and I think that's really solid. To help paint a broader picture, Lydia Ko is 19th in scoring average. She is first in sand saves, which is a beautiful Lydia Ko stat that she always thrives in. And she is 7th in prize money, 7th in the CME Globe rankings, which is like the year-on rankings. So that tells me, and hopefully it tells the audience as well, that Lydia Ko is still well in the mix. Bit of a dip recently after a really hot start to the year, but I think if this is the plateau that Lydia Ko does hit in her yearly excursion of LPGA golf, not the worst. It's actually pretty good. If that's where you start, if that's how you stumble, curious to see what happens next. Has been a bit of a hectic schedule. Couple of tournaments in Asia. Lydia Ko did get COVID as well. I think there was some sort of COVID stuff there. Now back in the USA. Bit of Hawaii coming up. A little bit of a Lotte Championship in Oahu. So Lydia Ko might enjoy that one. But yeah, bit of a stumble. But in comparison to where she's been in previous years, fantastic. And that's great to see. Bonus question, Wildcard. I'm going to take Latudu Taylor out of this equation. And I'm curious, who is your favorite Blackcap right now? Based on, obviously the Blackcaps have finished their summer. All the cricket we've seen, we are both going to give our favorite Blackcap. Who do you have? Is it someone new? Is it someone who's emerged? Or is it someone doubling down on some favoritism? What's the deal?
Well, I've got this list of the players who have featured this summer, and it feels like it'd be cheating to pick someone who's not on that list. So I'll leave off a Kane Williamson or something like that. It's too easy of an answer. I would. Oh, I don't know. I think it's a little bit of a toss up between I love what Tom Latham has done And we talked a little bit about that on the Patreon podcast this week as well. And just like, he scored a double hundred as a test match opener. He's scored 100 the other day as a wicketkeeper batsman batting 5. Like, he's one of those 4 guys who's played in all 7 games of the home summer. And I think what he's done has been really profound as captain as well. Like, just the difference between the 2 roles that he does in limited overs, like white ball versus red ball as well, is pretty amazing. Plus, I'm pretty sure he scored runs in Plunket Shield when he dropped back there for some games as well. If it's not him, it'd be Will Young, because Will Young's also on that list of having played all 7 games. I was watching him ton up against Netherlands in the 3rd ODI, to specify, because he scored hundreds in 2 of those games. And first of all, cool that he scored hundreds, because I think he's got 5 test 50s without having got to 100 yet. There's some very good innings in there, but couple tons again to raise the bat extra against the Netherlands is cool. It's all good. That's lovely. I was also watching his the way he was doing it, like good strike rate, a lovely shot. His on drive is awesome. Like he's got a very just a lovely flowing on drive. Really throws himself into it too, which is beautiful. And I just, I love the fact that a dude who had to wait so long and be so patient for his opportunities has really come in and played all 3 formats in a short space of time. And then he's actually inventing himself as a test match opener, as well as being this top order ODI guy scoring hundreds against Netherlands, batting lovely. I love what he's doing. I like watching him as a player. He's just one of those guys I think a lot of people have had tabs on for many years from his domestic stuff, and seeing him translate that internationally is beautiful. So some combination of those 2. Where would you go with that question?
No de Grandhomme?
Yeah, I mean,
big comeback this summer.
It was a big, I know, but he was bowling off spin yesterday too. The varieties to the man's work. 100 against South Africa. He's up there.
I'm actually pissed off. I was about to.
I didn't pick de Grandhomme, or did I take your answer?
The de Grandhomme stuff. That was actually a surprise. That wasn't me. That wasn't.
Yeah.
You not selecting de Grandhomme didn't piss me off. I was just surprised. What pissed me off and almost caused me to forcefully make you choose Tom Latham or Will Young is because my choice is Will Young, and it pisses me off that we chose the same one, but we did. Obviously, shout out to Will Young, because he's earned the double banger nods and nods of approval. You kind of laid it all out there. Glorious strokes, the career arc as well. I wrote about this in the yarn this morning about revolving around Ross Taylor and the Blackcaps series against Netherlands, because I think there's a lot of timing and cyclical stuff there with Will Young and Ross Taylor. Basically, one thing I'd add, I kind of waltzed around this, but I didn't say it in these ways. Since the start of the pandemic, Ross Taylor's run scoring has declined. Now, we've come to the end of the pandemic, so that's pretty cool. And there's little alignment in how that has wound up with Ross Taylor's career ending. But that whole period has also seen Will Young explode with runs. And when you think back to their journeys with Central, how Will Young was for a long period of time, he was thought of as the dude who will fill Ross Taylor's boots at some stage. The synchronicity there is just magical. And that combined with how easy Will Young makes batting look is quite nice. I'll take it a step further, and I'd say I really tuned in when Will Young was in India. I don't know if he got the big runs. I think he had one really good knock, but
80 odd in the first test.
But when he wasn't in his smaller knocks, he also looked really good in tough conditions in India. And I think just his growth and his development and the slow cooking honey process, the connection to Taylor, he played a pull shot yesterday, and he literally just kind of mid pull shot extended his arms to hit it for 6. He didn't try to hit the ball harder. He just extended his elbow joint a little bit, whatever the fuck it is, and he just like smacked it for 6. It was beautiful. It was magical. And soft hands, which is always a beautiful thing. Did note in a previous podcast this summer, the combination of soft hands and a pull shot, good batter. Shout out to Will Young, unanimous niche cage favorite.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm going to give him the unanimous niche cage favorite nod ahead of Tom Latham, because you split it there. Yeah, shout out.
He wins the tiebreaker.
Indeed. Bowler, just choose a bowler. Who's your favorite bowler right now?
Well, he didn't get the wickets in this Netherlands series, but I thought Ish Sodhi bowled absolutely like gorgeously in all 3 of those games as the frontline spinner for probably the first time in his ODI career where he wasn't also partnered with Mitchell Santner. I thought he was so good, just like the leggies, the wrong end, just guys bamboozled. As I say, didn't get the wickets. Like, I would have liked to see him get like a 4 or something in there, but he was the one dude throughout that ODI series where every time he came on to bowl, I sat up a little bit more in my chair, you know?
Same with the Will Young. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, but we basically expressed how fun it is to watch Will Young bat. And what you're saying about Isodi is the experience of watching him bowl is really enjoyable. I'm going Glenn Phillips, fantastic bowler. Musical Jam Wildcard, what have you been listening to?
That's a great answer. The new Otis Harding.
Glenn Phillips, I don't think bowled for the Blackcaps. Obviously, I'm taking the piss, but yeah, he's
I think he might have got an over or 2 at the World Cup. Did he? The T20 World Cup? I don't think he bowled as much as we thought he was going. Well, definitely as I thought he was going to. But I think he must have got a couple overs in there. If not there,
summer,
then
like over the summer. I don't.
Well, yeah, true. He didn't play.
Yeah, exactly. So
he wasn't in the Test matches, and he's in the IPL now, so he missed the ODI games. There you go. Yeah, Jam's Otis Harding's new album. I've listened to it 3 or 4 times, and it's one of those ones that just like, I don't think it has like the she's not really someone who's out there writing like hooks and bangers and stuff, but there was a little bit more of that on a previous album than on this one. So I think this one maybe is more of a slow burner. But it also might be better overall. I'm not sure. Like, it's one of those albums where you listen to it more and it gets better every time you listen to it. And I always feel like that's a marker of a great album, is when that happens. Like, second listen unlocks a little bit more, the third listen unlocks a little bit more than the previous time, etc. Haven't listened to that Denzel Curry album yet, but I will do that. I have listened to an album by a dude called Young Gov, who is a Canadian, I guess you'd call him like power pop or something like that. He's in the past, he's been a little bit more like guitars and synths. Here it was a little more this Gov 3, the album's called, which I don't actually think is his third album. I think it's just his third one called Gov. There's Gov 1, there was Gov 2, there's Gov 3. He's done other albums as well. It's a little bit more in the jangly guitar side of things. Guessing he was listening to like Early Birds records or something when he made it, and it's real good. I love it. Great album, just like a fun, easygoing kind of just nice songs, not trying to say anything like, you know, deep and pretentious or anything like that. And on a similar vibe, there's a band called X Void that has an album coming out, which I've only heard one song from it, but I loved the song, and so I want to hear the rest of the album. That's where I'm at with the jams. Yourself?
New project from Christoph El Truento and Brandon Shiraz. No warning. This project came with no warning. Fantastic. Oh my gosh. And this comes after, in January, we had Christoph El Truento and Lucky Lance. I think it was January 25th or 26th or something like that. And so you've basically got now Christoph El Truento, who has done a lot of production work for various artists, as well as his solo projects. From the outside looking in, it now looks like Christoph El Truento is really collaborating with a lot of local rappers for a bit of a Mad Libby type of vibe, as far as like the Brandon Shiraz project. Just some of the artwork, like it straight up looks similar to some of the Mad Lib collaboration stuff before, but the way it's kind of like some of those Mad Lib collaboration projects, but with a distinct Aotearoa flavor, which obviously I'm going to love. Brandon Shiraz is exceptional, and when you're dealing in the type of sound and production that Christoph Altruento is serving up, you better have some skills. Like, you better have some wiggle room to maneuver between the pockets and the sounds and the flows and the that's not even getting into like what you're actually saying and the message and the whatever you're trying to express. You got to be able to do all that on top of some really, what we would say is avant-garde production. It's kind of dubby, it's kind of all over the show, like a bit of samples in and out. Like, it's really a wide, I don't know, like it's awesome. It's just awesome. It's fantastic production, fantastic rapping from Brandon Shiraz, and there's a bit of a wave here, Wildcard. I don't know if it's the kind of Aotearoa avant-garde hip-hop wave or if it's just an Altruento wave, because, I mean, what are we, just starting April? Already had 2 really good Altruento projects drop this year. We've got 3/4 of the year to go. Like, what else is going to happen? You know, that's it's quite exciting. So I'm looking forward to whatever else Altruento has dished up. But if you are into Aotearoa music, if you do enjoy listening to the grooves and the sounds of Aotearoa, I don't think you can do any better than Christoph Altruento and Brandon Shiraz teaming up for a project named No Warning. At the moment, I think it's just on Altruento's Bandcamp page. But the collab with Lucky Lance is on his YouTube. So I imagine No Warning will soon be on Altruento's YouTube page as well. And obviously, it might be on other streaming platforms that I don't tune into. So listen to it, enjoy it, and yeah. Shout out to Aotearoa music, nothing better. Aldous Harding's album, glorious Aotearoa music, I'd imagine.
Yep, certainly, definitely. You could even call it avant-garde too, if you want. I think within her sort of realms and genres, she's definitely like a unique presence.
I was just thinking, like, the thing I'm loving about Aotearoa music is a mellow vibe. I think some of it has been quite aggressive. There's a bit of, you know, you can sense some anger, you can sense some frustration in different music, but a lot of the Aotearoa music right now is very mellow. It's very artistic. Like, the focus is on the art and expressing the art, and doing so in a way that just, to me, represents Aotearoa the best way. And I think that is evident in a wide variety of different artists, hip-hoppers, you know, some soul, some pop, some folky, some guitar music. Like, it's all there. Even thinking back to that Mild Orange, like, it was very, some of the topics were quite like emotion based and, you know, negative, dark, artsy based, but the sound is very bright and uplifty and mellow. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying Aotearoa music, and obviously here at the Niche Case we enjoy Aotearoa sport as well. Stay tuned in. Big old niche cast coming up on Thursday. I'll be writing about Lydia Ko this week, and we'll have another Warriors yarn coming up on Thursday. They're playing Friday night. Wildcard's got Flying Kiwis. What else are you going to write about over the next few days?
Well, I should probably do something like the Teru Taylor kind of career stat based project. Forgot that I meant to do that. I was going to hold back on that until after he'd actually finished fully retired. He's still got a 2-tiered retirement. So that's probably, I don't know if it'll be coming days, because that one might take a little bit of research, but certainly next 2 weeks, I'll chuck that one up there. There's also that football Ferns tour coming up, and a few more things along those lines. Stephen Adams is certainly on the list. There's only about 4 games left till the playoffs start. So he'll definitely be getting a write-up before the end of the week. Lots of stuff, lots of work to do.
Kia kaha, stay beautiful. Choo choo.